I'm Huw Collingbourne, Director of Technology with SapphireSteel Software. In this video I'll show you some ways in which you can configure the features of Amethyst Professional, our Visual Studio IDE for the Adobe Flash platform. Let's see how to change Amethyst's global settings. Start by loading Tools Options. To change the fonts, go to Environment, Fonts and Colors. ActionScript colors all begin with AS. And here you can set different colors for individual keywords and syntax elements of ActionScript. MXML colors begin with MXML. And in addition to setting ActionScript and MXML, you can also set the colors for the Amethyst console and of course for the other standard Visual Studio fonts and tool windows. To set options for all future Amethyst projects, go to Projects and Solutions, Amethyst. Here you can change the default paths to, for example, the Air Launcher, the compilers, the Flash Player, and the Flex SDK. And if you want to launch your programs into the Flash Player when running and debugging, set this option to true, otherwise they'll be launched into a browser. Bear in mind that many of the global settings will only apply to future Amethyst projects. Project settings are set in Project Properties. Some settings, such as SDK and Launcher, may be overridden here. If your project has custom project properties, these will remain active even if you change the global options. Global options will only become the defaults for new projects. If you want to change the options for existing projects, use Project Properties. In the global options, there are synchronization settings which let you exclude directory names or files by extension when you synchronize the Solution Explorer to update it from disk, if, for example, you've created files outside of Amethyst. And you can select your primary and secondary browser. Here my primary browser is Internet Explorer, my secondary browser is Firefox. Synchronization is available by right-clicking the project node and selecting Synchronize. You can see that this file, which was created outside of Amethyst, has now been included in my project. And to switch from primary to secondary browser, click Use Secondary Browser in the Amethyst menu. To set editing options, go to Text Editor, ActionScript, and MXML. For MXML you can set General, Tabbing, IntelliSense, and other options. You can set all those options too for ActionScript. Plus, you can set advanced options. These include the ability to reset all your custom keyword colors, for example, keywords such as public, private, return, and so on, back to the default Visual Studio color for keywords. And finally, there is also a formatting section, which you can use to set a large number of auto-code formatting options to apply to your preferred indentation or new line settings, spacing and wrapping. And we have much more detailed tutorials available on many of the global settings, including formatting and colouring, and various related options on the SapphireSteel Software website. And finally, there's the Amethyst Designer. This has its own layout bar where you can set options such as grid size and whether or not to show the grid. The designer also has its own global settings. And here you can alter the increments by which selected controls will move when you use the arrow keys, or when you move them by pressing Shift with the arrow keys for larger increments. You can set the layout grid size and its style, dotted or solid lines, and whether it's shown by default. And you can toggle Snap to Grid and Snap to Alignment bars. Alignment bars are the lines that appear on the fly when you drag controls to show which other controls they align with. For more in-depth tutorials on specific features and settings of Amethyst, see the tutorial index on the SapphireSteel Software website at www.sapphiresteel.com.